All right. Hey, I'm back. Episode 28, Jason DeBeers. Thank you for having me in your living room. And with me in the house, I got New York's own resident DJ at LAVO, internationally recognized DJ. DJ Stoon, what's good, baby?
What's up, JJ? How you doing, man?
Not just a DJ, not just a former volleyball great, but a very, very close friend of mine. Dude's like a brother to me, and I'm very, very happy to have you on your show. So, waited 28 episodes to do it, but I had to level up before I was worthy. So, just saying.
I'm actually reposting what you just posted right now on Facebook so we can get some viewers.
Yeah, man, we're good. So listen, we were during this quarantine time period, if you will. We were talking about before the show. We were talking about Amazon Prime and some of the shows are on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Talk about what we were talking about before. We were talking about what was it? Uptown. We were talking about Uptown Comedy Club or what was the Martin Lawrence thing?
No, the original Def Comedy Jam, like the original with like Martin Lawrence, the one that was I think it was started by Russell. What's his name?
Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of like just browsing through, looking for like something to watch, and I saw Def Comedy Jam. So I just clicked on it, for the hell of it, just to see what's good. And it turns out that they basically have the entire collection from the early 90s. I mean, specifically in 1992. And it's literally every single big comedian that you can think of when they first got their start. Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Hugh Lee, Cedric the Entertainer, Bernie Mac, and the list goes on and 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 on. But I mean, it's fascinating to hear all these comedians like when they first like started out. But what's more fascinating to me was the content that they put on, and it's just it's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. Like that's the best way I can describe it. But half of the shit that they say, you can't even like fathom to say that in today's society, in today's world, because you'd be committing career suicide because we live in a world where everyone is just easily offended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so much easier to offend than it is to entertain these days.
Like Abdel, the only venue where I've seen people can do this and get away with it is when comedians are migrating with other comedians. Let's say there's a party and it's all comedians, or let's say I'll use Joe Rogan. That's my podcast idol.
Yeah.
Let's say he has like a watch party like UFC. He has something called Fight Companion, where like 4 or 5 of them get in the same room and they're watching the fights a little bit, and but they're just talking shit. And some of the things, listen, that's not that podcast, that Fight Companion is not for, like you said, that's not for everybody.
No.
Because the shit that everyone in the room is laughing at, it's just like,
no, it's not.
But you know what? You know what else the podcast does though? The Fight Companion does. The Fight Companion allows people to be honest with each other, right?
Of course.
If a comedian says it in a certain way, in a certain context, guess what? People are not gonna laugh in front of their friends who they're afraid might be offended by. They're laughing their fucking asses off, dude. They are laughing their asses off, dude. And for me, the purpose of this podcast, it started as a volleyball podcast, and now I'm branching off because I did my 10 volleyball player commitment. I'm on episode 27, so just trying to get some interesting people on, theater performers, actors, and of course, famous DJs. So listen. Yo, before I take the steering wheel and drive us both off the cliff, how are you handling the quarantine? You're in New York, right? You're in the Upper East Side. Upper East Side.
I'm in the Upper East Side. I'm right in Manhattan. I'm right in the middle of it all. I can't really. I don't want to say I can't go outside. I can't go outside. I don't want to go outside. It doesn't make sense to go outside.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go, so I try to keep like leaving my apartment to a bare minimum. It's like unless I really need to go, it's mostly just like grocery runs, which I do like once a week, once every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And like if I had like to pick up something or whatever, an emergency one. But once in a while, maybe like I'll go for a walk because there I have a bridge on about where I live that takes me to Randall's Island. It's a nice little 5-minute walk, and
Yeah.
then I mean, you've been to Randall's Island.
There's
It's
a
a beautiful.
golf. Is that the place with the golf course?
I don't know if they have golf courses, but I know they do a lot of music festivals there.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
right between Manhattan. The bridge that you take to go there is
Yeah.
right on 102nd and the FDR Drive.
Yeah, I know.
You can literally
definitely
walk right through there. And but the good thing about it is that, like, I feel like not many people know that you can actually just walk there, so it doesn't get as crazy busy as like Central Park, for example, or like Prospect Park. So a lot of people go biking there, go walking around and stuff, but it's not as crowded as like all the other parks. So I try to like go there like maybe twice a week at most. Just feeling it out, man. Like there's no book to read about what's going on right now. We're all just like living history, and we're just kind of like coping with everything as we go. You know what I mean? There's no good or bad decisions anymore. I feel you're just kind of just doing things, and if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. You learn from it and you move on. But it is what it is. There's only so much you can do to prepare. So at the end of the day, you just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah, man, no doubt, dude. So on professionally, since this is a global pandemic, and I understand you go to England a couple of times a year, you go to Brazil a couple of times a year, you go to Vegas and clean out or whatever. So professionally, you're on a forced sabbatical, right?
Oh yeah,
is that the proper term?
Clubs were the first thing that closed. Clubs, it's obviously they were like at the bottom of the list in terms of essential venues. Clubs were the first thing that closed, and clubs will probably be the last thing that will reopen if you think about it. Just because, there's a lot of risk. And actually the two people that I know that got the coronavirus were both bartenders, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Bernard got it.
So that goes to show you that the risk of getting infected in the world of nightlife is obviously much higher than just anywhere else.
Yeah, just
so yeah, right now I ain't DJing, I ain't doing shit. Well, I'm not gonna say I ain't doing shit, but I am definitely not DJing. I've done a couple of live streams where I've like done. I recently just did one for my birthday. I did a couple before that to kind of like test the waters, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed doing it on my birthday because it was kind of like a good reason for all my friends to tune in, and some people were like sending me money on Venmo, like making requests and whatnot. But there were a lot of limitations on it. I wasn't able to like do a stream longer than 45 minutes because Instagram like kind of like kicks you off after 45 minutes. And then also there were a lot of limitations of what I could play because every time I play like a commercial song that has like well-known vocals or beat, and Instagram will kick me off
problem.
Copyright infringement, which is crazy if you think about it because like it's not like I'm making money through that stream. I'm not, you know what I mean? So I'm still trying to understand the logic behind it. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. The logic is not that there's a human being monitoring these things. There's a program. There's like an
right.
I don't know if the word algorithm is appropriate, but the same thing with Facebook. Let's say I'm coaching my team, right, or one of my teams or whatever, and I'm taping the match, and some asshole with a radio, decides he wants to watch the game, and he sits there and he got the radio and he's playing the music. Now they're trying to block my video in some countries and worldwide because they think I'm using their song to promote my video. And I'm like, no, there has to be some kind of law or some kind of thing that circumvents. You know what I mean? There has to be some kind of law passed or some kind of legislation that says, and it is actually a law. It's Fair Use Act. It's called incidental capture. Incidental capture is not copyright infringement. But the computer or the program that they use to shut down or split monetary rights, because that's what YouTube does. They want to split the difference or just take monetary rights altogether. Which at this point I just let them have. Okay, I just want my videos up. I'm making some money, but I ain't getting rich off of it. Not yet.
Yeah, of course.
So it's incidental capture is not copyright infringement. And
Right.
when you submit your dispute, sometimes they kick it. They're like, you're right. And then sometimes they're like, oh, we check with the guy who made the claim, and the claim says, and he disagrees. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so because he disagrees, you're just gonna take his side? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what the
It's his
fuck?
content. That doesn't make any sense. But here's the other part of the issue is that, okay, if I do a live stream and I play a song by Post Malone or Rihanna or Beyonce, you kick me off for copyright infringement. But at the same time, if I take a video of myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With either music playing on the background or even more, I can take a video of myself of something and post it on social media, on Instagram. But before I post it, I can mute it and then I can add my own song on top.
Right.
So what's the difference?
I mean, the difference is they're not fucking with you because they don't recognize the song. You know? Abdel, you have songs. You have songs. You gave me songs. You give me music every year, and this is my boy. Abdel, you give me songs every year, and I have songs people can't even find on Shazam, okay? I did a top 10 plays from the Manhattan Beach Open, like a top 10 plays. And I used one of your songs that I had to email you and ask you who the artist was because you mixed your own musical accompaniment with some bars from the artist.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I have yet to make any original music, but I have had like a couple of remixes and edits, which I've been like kind of, you know, using it as a stepping stone to make original music. Like, I feel like before you make original music, you want to try to kind of be exposed to as many different genres and different types and different sounds as you can, because that kind of like helps you develop your own sound. You know, like most successful artists, they have a sound. Like, you could literally either hear their voice if it's a singer or hear the beat if it's like a producer, and you could tell who it is just from the vibe that the song has.
Yeah.
Because you like if I tell you music produced by Timbaland or Dr. Dre, you already think Eminem or Missy Elliott. You know what I mean, respectively, and then they have like a specific sound that kind of like distinguishes their art. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at now, like as far as music goes. I'm trying to find my sound, and it sounds like it's a lot harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to sound like everyone else. You know what I mean? It's very easy to just kind of like follow in someone else's footsteps, but there comes a time where you kind of like, all right, I want to make music, but you know what? I want to make music that represents who I am.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? I want to make music that I know when people hear, they're gonna know it's me without even having to Shazam it.
Yeah, it's got your signature.
To look and see who the artist is.
Yeah, it's got your signature.
Exactly, and it just has like a certain vibe to it. You know, it's not it's like I said, it's not that easy. It takes time. It takes years to believe it or not. But hey, you got to start somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And believe it or not, and this is probably gonna come, you know, as a little bit of a shock to you. Next month, I'm actually celebrating 10 years as a career DJ, and I mean like full-time DJ, not really making income doing anything else. Next month it's going to be 10 years since I started, which is crazy because I still see myself as a beginner. But 10 years, I would say, like 10 years doing something that kind of like takes you out of like the beginner realm. But I've always kind of, you know, I like to always look at myself as a beginner because then I always give myself room to grow. And I always give myself room to get better.
Fucking Moroccans,
you know
man. Man, I hate you. I hate you motherfuckers, man. you work so hard. Let me tell you something. Every time I think, as far as coaching opportunities, I get passed up or as you know, I've been doing some color commentary for volleyball here in California. I did some of their Pepperdine's home games and this and that for beach volleyball. And sometimes when you feel like you passed the test, whether you got a 65 or you got 100, and you feel like it's your turn and you get passed up for someone that you think you're more deserving than, I spend a lot of time feeling sorry for myself. Like, dude, I've been doing this for whatever, you know, and I worked fucking hard at this. What the hell? You know, what the hell's everybody's problem? And then I see you. This fucking dude from Morocco who came to Brooklyn via high school or whatever, and you've been grinding. Dude, you've been hitting it so hard. It makes some of these, and I hate to use American kids and this and that, but it makes some people who think they work hard say, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna have that conversation in front of this guy.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna cry on someone else's shoulder, because when it comes to you and working hard, if they're looking for sympathy, it's in the dictionary between shit and syphilis.
Well, the thing is, I don't think it's so much about hard work anymore. I think like the best way I could put it is like, the harder you work, the less money you make. The smarter you work, the more money you make.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like if you're just like out there busting your ass, putting in hours and hours and hours, but you're not like progressing, you're just kind of stuck in this
doing
like,
a running
loop.
man. Doing a running man.
Yeah, you're chasing paychecks, and I don't care if your paycheck is $100,000. If you're just like, if you're not constantly, and I'm going to use a very important word that's going to lead to a whole, that's going to bring us back to the foundation of our friendship, is like, people need to evolve. You know what I mean? And if you're not constantly evolving in your life, it doesn't matter what you do. You have to always evolve. You have to constantly find a way to either make yourself better or, try to find a way to do things differently, because that's how you become more successful. Is you have to evolve. And the problem is, I feel like a lot of people have a fear of evolving, because they look at it as change, they look at it as different, they look at it as being difficult, and I'm good where I am in my own little box, in my own little house, whatever. But then what? What's the point of living life if you're not constantly, don't get me wrong. Just because you're trying to evolve, it doesn't mean you're going to succeed. But as long as you're trying and you're making an effort, you know what I mean? I think it just gives life a much better purpose.
I also think, Abdel, it has to be consistent with what you actually want in life. Let's say somebody reached something they consider the plateau, and they found this little comfort, the spot where they're comfortable, and they don't really want to move from there. And if that's what makes them happy, good.
Yeah.
But I think what you're talking about is the overwhelming contradiction where people think they appreciate, but they think they deserve more. And that's where I think the evolution, the constant evolution happens, right? We ain't talking about a revolution. We're talking about an evolution.
Evolution. Yeah,
slow, grinding, pride swallowing, inconvenient change that's supposed to produce good results where you're a better version of yourself. Totally get that.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally get that.
I mean, the way when I look at it, like, sometimes I like to step back and just like look at what the hell I've done with my life. You know what I mean? And it's been a pretty good run the way I see it, because I've never really had a job per se. You know what I mean? I also never really, studied music, believe it or not. I'll give you like a quick little rundown. My first job ever, when I was 16 or 17, I worked at a clothing store, basically folding clothes and selling clothes. And then for me, it wasn't really a job, because as a teenager, like, I wanted clothes, and I knew working at a clothing store, I'll get, I used to get like 40% off. So for me, I was working, but I didn't really look at it as work. You know what I mean? Because I'm in this establishment where I get to, like, build my closet collection at a very good discounted price. And at the same time, I get to interact with people and meet a lot of cute girls, because they all used to come in and whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, hey, listen, it is. But then I remember one day this guy comes in.
Nothing like Brooklyn girls, babe.
Yeah.
Nothing like best girls in the world. Nothing like Brooklyn girls.
Of course. This guy walks in one day, and he's like, yo, I'm trying to get a pair of socks. And I kind of like talk him up. Next thing you know, he's leaving with socks, a pair of shorts, a bunch of T-shirts, a hoodie, and a jacket. So like, I kind of like, got him to spend more money. And when he gets to the register to pay, he like turns and looks at me. He goes, wait a minute. I came in here to buy socks. How did you get me to buy all this shit? I'm like, I didn't get you to do anything. I was just making suggestions, and you were just following along. So he was really impressed with my selling skills. So he was like, you know what? I want you to come work for me. I'm the manager at Radio Shack up the block. Remember Radio Shack?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, I think most of them are like out of business now, but this was like when they were at their peak.
Yeah, they
You know
were.
what I mean?
They were They were one
You
of the
needed
last
anything.
survivors of the
Of
electronics
course, yeah.
franchise wars. Yeah.
They're like they were the last survivor. They're basically the last survivors from the blockbuster generation. You know what I mean? They lasted as long as they could, but eventually Amazon just crushed them. So I basically switched over and started working with him at his store. But at the same time, I also didn't look at it as work because why? I'm working at Radio Shack, and he put me in charge of like the computer section, which to me, growing up as a nerd, for me, computers were like it's everything. Like the fact that I get to work in computers and sell computers and fix computers and all this stuff. There were even days where like he'll make me come in and help him with like customers that needed to buy computers, and I'd be off. He'll literally like call me and like come up to be like, "Yo, can you stop by real quick?" Because Radio Shack was literally like 3 blocks away from my house. Like, can you just stop by? I need your help with something. So I worked there for a couple of months, and then I remember there was a taekwondo school that opened nearby, and my mom convinced me to like go back and start training again since I had taken a break from when I used to train when I was young back home in Morocco. So training taekwondo led to me teaching taekwondo. So then I left Radio Shack. And then this is all before I even turned 21. This was all before I even like stepped foot inside the nightclub or seen a DJ or anything like that. But I remember turning 21 and then starting to go into clubs, and then it's like a whole new world to me. You know what I mean? And then I started, next thing you know, I've always been social. I've always been the type of person that, likes to be surrounded by a lot of people and likes to get people to come out and do things in a group. So that led to me being a club promoter. And then the club promoting eventually led to DJing, you know what I mean? And it's so weird because when I think back, I don't have a musical background. I've never played an instrument. I don't know how to sing. I mean, you've done karaoke with me many times. You know damn well. No, I have no voice. You know what I mean? I could drink all I want. The best I could probably pull out would probably be like an Eminem verse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yo, come on, you were murdering some Eminem though back in the day.
Oh, stop it! Yeah, but hey, let me give you a fun fact. Actually, a little Stoon trivia for you. The very first class I ever failed in my life was my sophomore year in high school, which was also my first year in America, and it was music. I failed music, and then I went on to become a DJ. I mean, granted, I did fail music because I didn't speak English very well. But nonetheless, the very first and probably the last class I ever failed was music.
Yeah, and you're like, you ain't with that failing shit.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what. And plus, I had this teacher. I remember him I think his name was Mr. Cohen, and he literally used to talk so goddamn fast. And coming from Morocco, like, I mean, I did study English a little bit, but
yeah, and with the accent too. You went to New Utrecht, right?
Yeah, you can learn English all you want. When you go to Brooklyn, they don't speak English over there. It's not English. They speak Brooklynese or something because you could be like proficient from another country in English. You go to Brooklyn, you're not going to be able to communicate.
I agree.
For the first couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I mean, it was always a fast learner, so I picked it up pretty quick.
You know what I tell my friends? I'm like They come to me and they're like, "Can you tell me how you say in Brooklynese? Can you repeat that? Can you say that again?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." What'd you fucking say?
What'd you say? Or say what? Say what?
Yeah.
Say what?
Say who?
Say who? Now Brooklyn has its own its own lingo.
Yeah.
I remember like as a kid, like probably like 17, 18, I went to Montreal with my parents. And they speak French and English up there, but they don't speak French like the French, and they don't speak English like Americans or like England. They have kind of like their own dialect over there. Okay. And I remember like going into a store and like talking to the sales rep, and he just heard one sentence come out of my mouth. He goes, "Are you from Brooklyn?" I'm like, "Oh my God, how did you know? That is like very specific." He's like, "I can tell from your accent you have a Brooklyn accent."
Yeah. And the crazy thing is when people say you have a Brooklyn accent, Abdel, Brooklyn depends on where you are. I mean, Flatbush Avenue, they're not talking the same way people are in Bensonhurst or Bay Ridge.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. And I lived in both neighborhoods. They do not.
All right, I give you a good impression of Bensonhurst. And I use my boy Andrew Dice Clay. It's like, "Excuse me, pal, you know what time it is?" It's like, why you can't afford your own fucking watch?
Yeah.
What do I look
Yeah.
like, big?
Exactly.
What do I look like, Big fucking Ben to you? Go
Yeah.
fuck yourself. Your
It's a
mother's
lot of.
your
It's a
mother's a
lot
whore.
of.
Did I ever tell you that?
It's a lot of Italian Americans in Bensonhurst, so it's a very different. They're very different lingo than in Flatbush. Flatbush, it's a lot more African American, Hispanic, a lot of Arabs. You know what I mean? Whereas Bensonhurst was like a lot of Italian Americans, a
Yeah,
lot of
Flatbush. Well, I
Armenians,
grew up on Flatbush.
Albanians, a
Yeah,
lot of more
yeah,
European.
yeah.
And it
Well,
was two completely different lingos.
yeah. Flatbush was predominantly West Indian when I grew up there. Jamaica, Haiti,
Yes.
childhood friend
Yeah.
from Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
Belize, Barbados.
Lot of Middle Eastern too. Like we're in the area by where I was on Simple's Place in Caton by Church Avenue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lot of Middle Eastern, a lot of Middle Eastern was kind of they have that whole deli, grocery deli thing on lockdown. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, anywhere you go, it's like the Habibi store is always going to be the only place you can go, and the deli is not going to be owned by a Middle Eastern is if you go to like Spanish Harlem or like Washington Heights. Then
That's
it's like
true.
a little bit of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans,
Yeah.
which is where I live now, by 101st in the Upper East Side.
Yeah. No, oh my
Yeah, I
God.
mean it's a whole different culture up here
Yeah.
compared
Listen.
to, but it's actually it's changed a lot. It's definitely getting to be a little bit more mixed now, especially with the Q train now going up to 96 and Second.
Yes.
It encourages people to live uptown a little bit more, and plus the city is just so goddamn expensive to live in Midtown.
So
It doesn't
so on
make
so
sense.
on Church Avenue, that used to be a movie theater. I think I don't know if it's like a furniture or a clothing store anymore. It's close to Church in Flatbush.
Hmm.
Used to be called the Kenmore Movie Theater, and everybody would go there just to get high. Like
Yeah.
my father took me there to see like one of the Indiana Jones movies, and we all came, like me, my sister, and him came out buzzed from the contact. It was just ridiculous. So that was the one near Erasmus High School. If you know what the area, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
big
Yeah. Yeah.
awning. Looked like it used to be a theater.
Speaking of movie theaters, I actually heard a rumor that AMC theaters might be going out of business.
I think that's ridiculous. I think they're the ones that have been making all the money. I think they're the ones that did the movie chairs, like the bucket recline seats. I mean, if they go out of
Right.
business,
Right.
I think I'm done with movies.
Believe
They
it or
spoiled
not,
me rotten,
like,
my dude.
believe it or not, but like as a whole, people don't go to the movies like they used to anymore.
That's true.
It's just not part of the culture. Like you remember how like 86 and Third used to have two movie theaters?
Yes.
Yeah, one went out of business like a couple months ago before this whole Corona stuff.
The one that was on
There's
the
only
south
one
side,
now.
right?
I think it was the one on it was kind of like between Second and Third.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, the one on the south,
That one closed. That
the
one
south
closed
side, the one that was near the Cold
almost,
Stone.
almost a year ago.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
but this just goes to show you. I mean, the whole idea of like having two movie theaters pretty much next to each other never really made sense. But it lasted for as long as it did because people would go to the movies regardless. And plus, they also always showed different movies. They never overlapped. But I guess eventually, I blame it on rent. I feel like a lot of people can't really afford. There's so many people like going out of business in the city in Manhattan because they just can't afford. They can't afford the rent anymore. The other day I was on 60. This was a couple of months ago. I was on 67 in Madison, and I just stood in the corner, and just looking from that corner with my eyes, I counted 8 closed businesses. And that's like prime real estate. 67 in Madison. That's like the heart of the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's that old money.
Yeah, it's
And-
Bergdorf Goodman money.
Yeah, exactly. So that area, man, and God only knows what's gonna happen after this, because I feel like any business that was struggling, any business that was like just barely getting by, after being closed for so long, I can't even imagine how they're gonna be able to reopen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, seems like this country's not prioritizing them. They a couple of trillion for Wall Street. I mean, we could bail out the big businesses, but that's a whole nother
Yeah.
story. That's a whole nother story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, here's a cool thing about Flatbush when we were talking about neighborhoods. Like, if you go to a bakery and you ask for a beef,
Mm-hmm.
they sell beef patties at bakeries. Beef patties with cocoa
Yeah.
bread. That's how I got fat. But people that are going to Flatbush, be very, very careful about the difference between a bakery and an actual restaurant. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, I went to a Jamaican restaurant and, it was around lunchtime or whatever, and the place was kind of empty. And I was like, do y'all sell beef patties here? Yo, and she got so tight, man. She said, bumble clock. There ain't no beef patty here, ain't no bakery.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I was like, the fuck? Yeah, boy, get on me all. There ain't no bakery here, no dumb beef
Yeah.
no dumb beef patty. And I was like,
You
yeah.
can
And
come by for a snack.
you know what
Can't
I said
come
before I
in
left.
here.
You know what I said before I left? I was like, no wonder this place is empty. She said, you white skunt. I was like, shit.
She got tight.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's bakeries. Like, you go there for a snack, you don't go there for a meal, But I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like, I mean, being a DJ in New York, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be invited to eat at all the fucking fancy restaurants and whatnot. I will never, ever, ever, like, if it's up to me to choose,
Yeah.
I will always choose the holes in the wall over, like, the fancy restaurants. Just because I like good food, and good food is like, you got to go to the little spots. You got to go to the, I mean, you remember when we used to play volleyball?
The food
we had a list. We had a list of spots that we used to always go to. You know what I mean? We had our Monday spot. We had our Tuesday spot. Remember, like Mondays, every time we used to go to Solas for karaoke, we would always go by that Chinese food place on the way.
Yeah, that was a good spot, dude. And
mean?
that was a hole in the wall, right? That was a takeout joint.
Exactly, and we would literally like take out the food and bring it with us. My favorite used to be was we would always go to the parlor, but we would always wait until the
kitchen closed.
So we could come in and bring our pizza with us and whatever.
That's right. Hey, for those of you that are listening, that's a goal. That's a rule. If a bar and a grill or a pub has a restaurant and the kitchen closes, you're allowed to bring outside food in because the kitchen's closed. They ain't gonna say nothing.
Yep.
So that's the big secret for all y'all night owls.
We took full advantage of that. I mean, we're also regulars. When I say regulars, I'm talking twice a week, every week for like 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So that we kind of got away with a lot of stuff that most people didn't. They used to let us play spades in the back. You know what I mean? Bringing our food. That was kind of like our spot. I think they sponsored.
Well, that was our sponsor
one year, right?
That was our volleyball sponsor.
Yeah.
That had a lot to do with you, and it was either you and Kenny or you and someone else. Like, we talked up the owner, right? And the owner wrote a check for like half of our fee.
Yeah.
Sorry for people listening. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me bring people up. New York. For people listening, New York Urban Professional is a volleyball league that actually sports a good Division I men's division and a good Division I women's division, where you just have this group of people who are like semi-pro or people who are former NCAA stars living in New York. It's a league that was started as working professionals, so the fee to play for a season is rather pricey. So if you're like me and Abdel at that time, where I was a full-time student at Marymount Manhattan, and you were just coming up, you were still a pup. It costs a lot of money, so you have to find sponsors. So we would frequent this place called The Parlor on 86th Street between Broadway and West End. That we actually got the owner, John. We kind of talked him up, and he wrote we were trying to get him to cover our whole season, right? And he wrote a check for half. He wrote a check for half the season, but. And this one, I'm going to bring you in a minute. But the first night we played, our first match, we brought so many people that night. And it was karaoke night that night. In fact, it was a Wednesday, right? We brought so many people that night. John just cut the second check and just paid for the whole thing. Yeah. And I think it was you and Kenny. It was like, dude, man, you didn't have to do us like that. Don't dangle a carrot. And if we say we're gonna bring business, we're gonna bring business, man. Don't be dangling a carrot in front of us to follow at the end. So sorry, go ahead. I'll bring it to you.
But to his defense, though, he was never really there. You know what I mean? Like, I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually seen him there in person. You know what I mean? But I guess he just wanted to see results before he committed to the full thing. But yeah, it was funny because I mean there were times where like the parlor would be dead slow, and then we'd walk in, and it'll be like 10, 15 of us, and then next thing you know, because you know how it is. You walk into a bar, you don't find anyone. If you don't see anyone, you're gonna leave. We walk in, we didn't care if there were people or not because we would always walk in a squad, and then next thing you know, as people start trickling in as the night goes by, then all of a sudden they turn a slow night into a good busy night.
Yeah.
Just because the squad of 15 hungry drunk volleyball players just walked in.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is, look, when you have 20 people that are dropping $3,300 in a pub. Now, I'm not talking about like you're the resident DJ at LAVO and you're at MARQUEE. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking. What's that?
I said back then we did not have like money to be spending like that. We all kind of just like leaned on each other. Like you got this time, I got it next time.
Yeah,
you know what I
but
mean?
no, but the people we brought in that first night, there was basically 20 people that spent $3,300, and that almost tripled. Or 2.5 times as much as what our fee cost to play New York Urban Professional Volleyball. So, and again, I'm not talking about a club scene where some Wall Street guy drops 20 grand, for bottles and services. This is a lot of money for a restaurant and a pub.
Yeah.
On a dead night. On a dead night. Hold on a second. On a dead night after 11 o'clock. On a dead night after 11 o'clock, $3,300 in an hour. That doesn't happen in restaurants and pubs in New York, and that sure as fuck don't happen in California. Who they ain't even open after 11 o'clock. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I like about the parlor is that there could be one customer that would still stay open till 4 a.m. no matter what.
Yep.
You would never like. And plus, if I remember correctly, it was like the only bar on like a 10-block radius in the Upper West Side. There were really no other bars in that area or the area on 86 and Broadway.
Well, there were no bars in pubs. Like if you went to Amsterdam or whatever, you got Prohibition, you got Alligator Alley. If you go 77th Street, that's 10 blocks, maybe 9 blocks. Brother Jimmy's. But those are not the mixture. We're talking about an awesome Scottish pub. The parlor is really the Shepherd's Pie is. Shepherd's Pie is awesome.
Here's the fun part. I had one of my 21st birthdays there.
One of
my 21st birthdays was there. And I remember the day. I think the first time I go there, being 21. Big Mug goes, "Oh, I heard it's your birthday." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, happy birthday. How old are you now?" I'm like, 21. He goes, "What the fuck?" Like, you've been coming here for like 2 years already.
How many years you been 21 years old?
Oh, man. Remember that drink, the most special that he used to make?
Yeah.
He would literally just like put every single type of liquor that he sees in front of him and then adds like cranberry and orange juice and goes, "Here, drink this." And he will always like put it in that big ass beer mug.
Listen, it ain't for everybody, all right? That takes years off of people's life. For me, I think it gave me a life extension, and for Eater, that was like giving Popeye spinach,
That shit was just as bad, and that shit was just as strong as like a Long Island, basically. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did you see they moved? Switching topics really quickly. They moved the date for the Ferguson fight.
Yeah, they did. I think Disney came in and just shut that shit down. Disney was like, "Listen, we're Disney. We're supposed to do things that are politically correct, and having a combat sport on the Disney Channel enough is already risque. So they're just trying to keep it neat and clean for Eugene. So what do you think of that? On my show, Sports Debate Tuesday, we were talking about was it a good idea or a bad idea? And I said a good idea. What do you think?
What are you talking about?
Like Dana tried to make it happen, and I know they
tried to make it happen. Yeah.
But do you think it was a good idea for Disney to pull rank and shut it down?
I think everything like that. I think it needs to be risky. It's too risky, man.
It is.
You know what I mean? That you could call Disney the bad guys, but like Dana was like pushing for that fight to happen a little bit too hard. I mean, here's the thing. I understand what he's trying to say. All people need entertainment. But at the same time, he knows that we both know it's all about fucking money. He knows damn well if he puts on
It was
a fight
about, but
card.
it was about paying his people. He ain't. I mean, he's already a billionaire right now. He ain't trying to
No,
get
but
rich.
but here's the thing: when you're as rich as he is, and he's a businessman.
Yeah.
And as a businessman, you're always gonna put business before everything else, and that includes personal feelings and health too. You know what I mean? As a businessman, if you believe that that there is an opportunity, for you to make money. I mean, listen, if you put on a fight card in this day and age, right, in this like situation that we're in, even people that don't normally watch UFC are gonna buy it because they're just sitting at home not doing anything. He was talking about like buying an island and doing the fights there. You know what I mean? And the idea sounds great, but I'm sure when it came down to the logistics of it, you know what I mean? It probably did not make sense. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Susan Mezzo just joined. Just giving her a shout out. How about that? How's that from a blast from the past? Susan Mezzo just joined us. Susan Mezzo.
Susan Mezzo.
Susan, since if you can hear us, just type in, make sure the mics are okay, because I've been having technical problems yesterday and today, the last 24 hours, and I would hate for me and Abdel to go through all this, and the sound is fucked. So hopefully, Abdel, man, maybe you got a recording device that's recording on your end, and if this gets messed up, I'll combine them and chop them.
Told me, but I didn't. You know what I mean? Maybe we can do that next time.
Yeah. Susan says, I can hear you. She says, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, of course.
Oh, Susan, man. God, the time period we're talking about, it's so awesome that she just happens to be listening in because I think she was a part of 80% of this.
What do you mean? Oh, of course she was. Of course she was. I mean, for people that don't know, Susan is my ex-girlfriend. We dated for, I think, almost 2 years. And
that has to be a record for you. I think that's still a record. Is that still a record for you?
No, it's not a record, but at the time it was the record, and it wasn't just that. It was the fact that she taught me how to be a man. I was a boy. I was a 19-year-old boy. You know what I mean? Here's the crazy part. Her and I are actually neighbors. We live literally like 9 blocks away from each other, and I probably haven't seen her in like 10 years. So it's going to be interesting when we run into each other because I know it's bound to happen eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. So listen, let me drive the car. Let me take the steering wheel back to the beginning of the road before we go too far. We were talking about, and I keep saying Uptown Comedy Club. It's not. It's Def Jam.
No, it's the Def Jam.
So
Def
I
Jam
want you to there goes Sam Mack. Sam Mack says, "Hey, what's up, Stoon? This is my homeboy. That's my homeboy, Sam Mack. Remember Sam Volleyball?
What's up, Sam?
Lefty. Also, a guy named Will Grawley said Joe Maz did a great job creating his own sound. If you know who Joe Maz is,
I do actually. I play a lot of his. I'm a big fan of his production. I play a lot of his stuff in my sets. Believe it or not, he's definitely He's definitely on the list of like people that I really, really, enjoy in terms of like remixes and stuff. I'm still waiting for him to come up with some original work, but I would say he's definitely on the right track. I would say Joe Maz is probably like, if I was to compare where I am right now and where he is, he's probably like 3 to 4 years ahead of me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a compliment to me because I'm still a beginner. And his production is like very, very top notch.
Hey, listen, there's some people that get to be Kobe Bryant and there's some people that get to be LeBron James who's trying to catch up,
Yeah.
I think you're very much like LeBron James in the sense that if you've ever seen LeBron James play 82 games like basketball, the guy plays like he doesn't have a contract.
Right.
You know how some people, they get their contract and they get their money, and I'm not saying they get their money and they stop playing, but there's this terrible coincidence where they got paid and their numbers aren't the same or their production isn't the
Yeah.
same. LeBron James plays like he's playing for a contract.
Yeah.
And that's you. You play. You DJ like you're a beginner, still trying to make your way past some people and make your way to the top. So that's the best way I know how to describe that for some people. So listen, before we leave Def Jam Comedy completely, who are 3 funny comedians that come to your head that made you laugh when you watched it? When you watched it again?
Oh my God, that's gonna be. It's here's the thing. It's hard to just name 3, but if I was to
like first 3 that came to your head, go.
You have to see the Michael Jackson impression by Eddie Griffin.
I did.
Oh my God, I was on the floor laughing. I was on the fucking floor laughing. There was that. The Bernie Mac, the one where he's wearing like the really colorful pants, when he goes, "You don't understand. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers." That was that. I really enjoyed
They're going to
that one.
All right, that's number 1.
And I have to. I mean, it's those 2 kind of come to mind right away, like when I think of Def Comedy Jam. But the person that actually like makes the show, a whole, and you wouldn't be able to do the show without him, is obviously the host, Martin Lawrence, which I think that was like some of his best work, to the point that I remember when he wanted to leave, they asked Chris Rock to replace him, and Chris Rock turned it down. He said, "I wouldn't be able to follow Martin Lawrence." You know what I mean? So surprisingly enough, he was replaced by Mike Epps, which actually went on.
Joe Torre for a little bit. And Joe Torre for a little bit.
But Mike Epps kind of did most of it, but he did pretty good. He had kind of had his own goofy style. You know what I mean? Like he's got like his own kind of style where he like laughs at his own jokes. You know what I mean? Whereas Martin Lawrence, I feel like Martin Lawrence always finds a way to like make things sexual.
All right, so you got Eddie Griffin, you got Martin Lawrence. Who's your third?
Bernie Mac.
Oh shit!
He's one of my favorite comedians of all time.
You stole mine. You fucker.
I'm sorry.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, Eddie Griffin, Bernie Mac, Martin Lawrence, but that's just Def Comedy Jam.
All right, now these aren't my favorite, but I'm since we're prisoners of the moment right here, I'm gonna allow myself to be a prisoner of the moment, and in no particular order, I'll just roll off 3. Joe Torre, who later became the host. Joe Torre starts his skit off where he starts how he warms up. He looks at people in the crowd and he'll talk to them or he'll start fucking with them. He'll be like, and this is what you were talking about, like how a joke isn't funny now, but it was funny before. He's like, look at this guy. The guy looked like a gay ass scientist inventing dicks at home, you know? And he's and the guy had like a bow tie or whatever. He's like with that civil rights suit. You're here for a fucking rally. So the way he just started messing with people, I was just cracking up. And it was at other people's expense, but we all get the joke. The second one was Bernie Mac. When Bernie Mac, nobody talks about relationships, long-term relationships from the beginning to the mid to years in, like Bernie Mac, He's like, when you first get married, your wife is happier than a sissy with a bag of dicks. just giving it up by the pound, He says, but now, he said, years later, though, you got to sneak up on it because pussy's like war. Yeah. You got to duck. And then when she turns around, you're like, so that's my second one. My third one is Adele Givens. Adele Givens,
she crushes it.
Adele Givens is like, you want to talk about things that make people uncomfortable. She's like, God bless me. She said, God bless me with these lips for 1 or 2 reasons. Either to sing a song or suck a dick. I was like, she said, it's 1993. I ain't scared to say it. I suck the skin. I was like, damn. And she said, I see you looking at me. I'm not blowing you. She said, that's like a whale eating a Tic Tac. No, I'm not blowing you. So these are the comedians who are not necessarily my favorite ones, who are not necessarily even the funniest ones, but the ones that when they take the stage, they get you out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
and back in to a place under that place. Abdel, hold on for a second. That place under a place where men and women get to meet and talk. Yeah. There's a place where me and you are politically correct in how we talk to each other when everybody's watching, and how, you know, maybe there's kids listening and this and that. But there's a place under that place where men and women get to meet and talk, and that's fucking as old as the fucking stars, dude. And it's not practiced as much, but it's still there, and that's what I thought comedians like that did best.
Yeah. Who's your favorite comedian of all time?
Can't answer that, man. But if you, I would say the first two that come to my mind are Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. Talk about politically incorrect. Cool. Talk about the millennial generation that will listen to them and may or may not find it funny. And Chris Rock. All of my three. It's crazy. All of them. I mean, I guess no one does comedy better than African Americans, because and Andrew Dice Clay's my favorite non-African American. The reason why I like these comedians is because if you listen to Richard Pryor, he's offensive, but the way he says it, and then the content and how he uses his content is still funny. It's timeless. Yeah. Chris Rock can get away with saying anything he wants, and he's still funny. So it's not necessarily what's offensive. It's about how it's delivered. It's about the demographic of people who are listening and the time they're listening to it. So.
Yeah, it's always you could have the best material in the world, if you don't know how to if you don't have good delivery, you're not going to be funny. Like if you go back and listen to all of Richard Pryor's stuff, you would hear a lot of the jokes that you hear these days just told in, you know, everyone takes from Richard Pryor, you know what I mean? Especially African American comedians, and everyone just kind of delivers it in their own way, which I think when it comes to delivery, the best of all time is Bernie Mac, because I don't think Bernie Mac tells jokes.
God rest that man's soul, dude. He doesn't. I mean, he just tells the truth, and it's funny.
Yeah, he's literally just talking to you, and the way he talks just makes things funny. And I appreciate I would definitely say I appreciate everyone that took from Richard Pryor and made their own style. My favorite comedian of all time is George Carlin.
Talking about letting the truth set all of us free, huh?
He just tells it how it is. I mean, he's an atheist, so without already kind of broadened his spectrum of jokes. Nothing is off limit. But the cool thing about him is that he actually got better with age. Early in his career, he was literally just doing impressions. And then he finally tapped into his own style after doing enough cocaine. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, he was born and raised in Harlem.
George Carlin? Yeah.
George Carlin, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, though.
I read an article the other day about the holy trinity of stand-up comedy, and it's Richard Pryor, George Carlin, and Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce, I'm not familiar with. Maybe you could tell me something about him. But I think it's fascinating that you and I both picked two people who are considered the holy trinity of stand-up comedy. Who's Lenny Bruce? I don't really know anything about him.
Look, between the three of us, we both got Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. So yeah, leave it up to those people to decide what's what. But So the reason why I like these comedians is because people today, no matter what generation, you could be 15 or 50, people are in denial on what they actually find funny. Okay?
Yeah.
If you watch South Park, the shit that South Park produces is not only designed to offend or unnerve, but if it were done by not animated people, all right, if it was done in a drama, you'd have people trying to get rid of free speech. All right. Yeah. So the fact of the matter is people still find it funny. It's just about who's delivering it and how it's being delivered, you know?
Yeah.
I remember Chris Rock talking about the show Grey's Anatomy. The guy got fired. Some guy got fired for calling one of his castmates the F word. I'll just say faggot. All right. But Chris Rock was like, how was it used in the context? All right.
Yeah.
Did he come up to him and say, "Good morning, faggot"? Was it done that way?
Yeah.
Or were they having an argument? Because Joe Rogan and Chris Rock both agree that if you're having an argument with someone, you should be able to say the one thing or two things that you know that will inflict the most emotional pain.
Of course.
You're supposed to argue, you name call, argue with someone and think there's supposed to be rules? No.
Yeah.
Chris Rock said, if that dude got one leg, fuck you one-legged bastard.
So funny.
Oh shit, I'm getting a blur on my camera. I'll fix it in a minute, but the sound's perfect. So I think it's the reason why we still find that funny is because the talent and the deliverer and the material being written, and not to mention Abdel stereotypes. There's a reason why a stereotype's called a stereotype, because it's supported by a heightened level of truth.
Of course.
All right.
Absolutely.
White men can't jump. That's actually racist. Okay. But how many white guys do you see out there that got good vertical leaps? They're out there, but you have to look for them. Okay. And I mean, I'm saying a racist thing, and racist in the classic sense of the word, I mean someone that has the inherent belief that someone is superior or inferior based on their race. So basically what I'm saying right now is a racist thing. But at the same time, ain't nobody going to try to cancel my show for that. White men can't jump. All right.
Yeah.
That's not like I said, black men can't work, or something that's politically incorrect, and also not even wholeheartedly true. That's an example. Like I just said, black men can't work. That's a stereotype that doesn't have a heightened support of truth to it.
Yeah.
All right. We're in a society where they're working just as hard. They have the same resume and they're not getting hired. So that's not like a can't thing, and that's where insensitive racism comes into play. Using that as an example, And listen to us, a couple of brothers, right? My mom's African American, and you're from Morocco, so you're as African as it gets.
Yeah.
So
it's just, I think racism is just it's I actually find racism to be very fascinating, because it's, especially in America, with so many, like, to be racist, it's so fascinating to me, because it's like
what a waste of time.
What a waste of time. That's the best way you could put it. What a waste of time. Like my high school in Brooklyn,
New Utrecht,
we had 37 spoken languages. I challenge anyone in the world to list me 37 languages right now off the back.
I can't. I can give you 10, and then I'd have to labor through it.
That's what I'm saying. And not only did we have 37 languages, but we also had 37 different ways of speaking English. And that's the crazy part. Yeah, we all got along. Of course, we all had our fights and our disagreements and whatnot. What I mean? Especially because I went to high school when September 11 happened. You know what I mean? So that was a very wild time.
Is that where you were? Is that where you were on September 11th?
I was in high school when it happened, and imagine going to a high school where there's so many different types of people. And if there was one way I can describe how everything was, and it was just confusion. Yeah, you know what I mean? Everyone was just confused. It's like nobody knew who. Like, people were mad. But like, it's almost like they're mad, but they don't know who they should be mad at. Yeah. You know what I mean? Should you be mad at all the Arabs? No, you can't, because not all the.
Well, if you're a racist, you can, right? Know.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you're gonna be mad at Muslims? Well, guess what? A lot of Muslims are not Arabs, and a lot of Arabs are not Muslim either. You know what I mean? But like back home in Morocco, believe it or not. Obviously the most predominant religion we have is Islam, but the second most predominant religion is Judaism. It's not Christianity. There's not that many Christians in Morocco. No. There is. It's very, 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 very.
In the big cities, what's the religious practice in the big cities? Is it Islam?
It is Islam, but I would say Morocco, it's definitely the least conservative country in the Arab world. I think it has to do a lot with its location, being the most Western Arab country and being the most northern Western African country. So we're literally like 20, 30 miles away from Spain by boat. And we're also the closest country to the United States. So we take a lot from the U.S. and we also take a lot from Europe. I mean, we were a French colony for 44 years. So French was actually established as a second language. And when I say second language, I don't mean second language like Spanish is a second language.
No, we're talking
back home in Morocco. When you go to school, you learn every subject in Arabic and French. Like you learn grammar, Arabic and French, math, Arabic and French. You learn science in Arabic and French. So when you grow up bilingual. You know what I mean? That's the key to being bilingual, or trilingual, whatever it is. But to be bilingual,
but you also speak French as well, right?
Huh?
You speak French?
I speak Arabic, French. I speak Arabic, French, and English.
Okay.
But I think in English. This is the crazy part now. Like I used to think in Arabic and in French. Now I think in English. Like when I think of things in my mind, I think of them in English. Yeah. Which is fascinating. That's how I was able to like perfect the language. I mean, I could still speak Arabic. I could still kind of write it and read it. Same thing with French. My mom being a French professor, I have to maintain a good French. Otherwise, I'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to thinking in my head, I think in English.
Yeah. Hold up.
Which is actually kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
I remember, and when I first moved out of my parents' house when I was 19, my mom would call me and like to like check up on me, and she'll leave me a voicemail. Remember those voicemails?
Yeah.
She would leave
Casey
me a
Jennings, what's up?
She would leave me a voicemail, and like her first voicemail will be like something in French. She'll be like, "Coucou, ça va? Comment vas-tu? Appelle-moi." She'll be like all cute and stuff. And like, let's say I don't call her back after a day, she'll call me again and leave me a second voicemail. And it's like, "Hey, it's me. You know, I called you yesterday. You didn't call me back. Give me a call when you get a chance." So it's like a little bit more, serious, And then, of course, after like 2-3 days, if I still don't call her back and I get that phone call in Arabic, that's when I know I'm in trouble. It usually starts off with a lot of cursing. But here's the crazy part. Now, when I sit down and I have a serious conversation with my mom, we talk in English. And when we talk in Arabic, it's usually to like joke around and stuff. You know what I mean? So it kind of like flipped. Like Arabic used to be like the serious language. Now Arabic is like the joking one. You know what I mean? So I find that to be like very interesting.
Yeah, man. Hold up. Big up Casey Jennings, listening to the show. Casey Jennings helped me enormously with volleyball guests for my podcast. So he's watching. Just giving him a shout out. It's Kerry Walsh's husband, multiple time AVP and FIVB champ. So listen, let's get back to this 9/11 thing. You were at school. Were you in class when it happened?
Of course. I was in class, and we could see the smoke from Bensonhurst.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Clear as day, I'm sure, right?
We could see that.
New Utrecht High School, where you guys are? Yep.
I went to New Utrecht, where we're kind of like, I mean, there's not that many high buildings in Brooklyn, so you could see the smoke from all the way from South Brooklyn. And I remember, I don't know if you remember, but like for a while, when you would take the train from Brooklyn to the city, and you would be like crossing the bridge for like the first 6 months after September 11th, you could still smell burning flesh.
Yeah.
From the train, literally as soon as like you're about to get into the city.
That's why I asked, because where the wind's blowing, like it's Brooklyn, and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, shit was crazy. And the crazy thing was that my dad was there the day before. My dad back then, he used to work security for Verizon, and he used to basically be the security for the guy that would go around collecting money from the payphones. And there was a Verizon payphone on like the 100th floor or 101st floor or something like that. And I remember my dad calling me the day before, he was like, "Yo, you're really," because I've actually never been. We moved here in 2000. That first year, when we moved here, my parents used to go and see like all the monuments, the sightseeing, Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, World Trade Center, blah blah blah. We used to go to do all that stuff. I was not interested in doing any of that. I would literally just stay home, and as soon as they leave, I would literally take the train to Grand Army Plaza and go to the New York Public Library and just like rent out VHS tapes and print out like fantasy Dragon Ball Z stories. I mean, I was like, 14, 15 at the time.
Okay.
And I remember my mom would give me like $10 for lunch. But what I would do, instead of spending the whole thing on lunch, I would literally go and buy dollar pizza, buy maybe like 1 or 2 slices. And like with the other $8, I would go and buy like Dragon Ball Z VHS tapes and hide them under my bed.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, I remember one day, I remember this day, she found them. She literally was just like, "What is all this?" Mind you, I had like 30 tapes. You know, I'm like, it's my tapes, my Dragon Ball Z. She goes, "What did you get this from?" I'm like, "It's from all the lunch money that you gave me."
Yeah.
I mean, you know damn well, living in Flatbush, you can have lunch for $2.
It's true.
Easy.
Yeah, hero. You get a hero, or I'm sorry, I'll say this in national language: a sub or a hoagie for like $2.
$2 $2 a 14-year-old, I can easily like put together lunch.
Yeah.
Easy, without even hesitating. And I had options too. I could go to McDonald's, it was $1 menu. I could go get a dollar pizza. I could go get a sandwich from the deli.
Or the bodega that hook up your thing. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And so
and now in the city, like there's still a few dollar pizza spots. I don't even know if there's still a dollar menu in McDonald's. I haven't been in a while. But the city as a whole, man, is just like getting more and more expensive. It's crazy. Something's gotta give, man. Like I feel like there's gonna come a time where people are just not gonna afford it, and I feel like it's coming much sooner than I thought it would with this coronavirus pandemic. Because here is eerie, man. The city is scary right now. Like you go outside, it's very eerie. That's the word. It's eerie.
It is eerie. Yeah, it's like
it's very eerie outside, man.
Yeah, it's there is the reason why I even brought up 9/11 is probably that kind of feel of nervous tension and all that stuff. Except the streets aren't empty. It's not like right. I mean, people aren't. I mean, I think people are keeping their kids home from school because they think it's unsafe for a while. But this is lasting a little bit longer. There's a longer, or there's more of a residual effect. And I mean, I can't even begin to imagine like California right now. Like New York has more deaths than California, I think, has cases. So
no. New York actually has more cases than any country in the world besides the U.S. Obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, I've been.
No, I'm saying California has the least as far as per capita, like the number of people and the number of cases. We have the least. You
ever go on that website worldmeters.info?
What's it called?
So worldmeters.info. WOR world meters.info. If you go there and you click on the first page, you can see a link that says coronavirus updates. It shows you like, and you can click up. It shows you like by country. Like right now, the U.S. is at 623,694. So say 624,000. And if you click on the U.S., it gives you by state. And out of the 623,000 in the U.S., 203 are in New York.
Right.
And then California is 25,000. So we have like almost 10 times the number of cases. And New York is bad right now. New York is going to be bad right now, and I feel like it's going to be bad for a while. You know what I mean? It's just not. The total death in New York is almost 12,000. Total death in California is 790. That's a big difference, man.
Agreed. Agreed.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm looking at something else because the site you gave me was warning me about browsing off on it. It was basically a at your own risk thing, and I'm like, no thanks. I ain't doing that.
wait, the world meters info, it wouldn't let you do it?
It did, but it just gave me a warning like before I go, and had this long thing I had to read, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to listen to you at the same time. So
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
New York City
But
alone.
here's the good. Here's the.
But New
good
York City
part,
alone,
like,
New York City alone has 10,367 deaths. New York City.
Right now it says 11,000, but I mean, obviously it changes.
The city, right? We're talking about the city, the 5 boroughs.
No. I'm talking about New York State. New York State has 11,000 to almost 12,000 deaths. But
Yeah,
I mean, when
it
you talk
definitely
about
has
New
more.
York
But the
State, you're
city,
obviously talking
no,
about
but the
New York
city, the city has 10,367
Yeah, I believe it. This is cases or deaths you're talking about, right?
deaths. Yeah, the cases is 100,000, 110,000. So.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about New York State, you're obviously talking about New York City because that's where most of the people are.
Right.
I'm sure there's stuff there upstate too, but it's just not. It's not the same. Like there's a lot of density in New York City. There's a lot of people per square inch, not
Definitely.
even square. You know.
Yeah, you got millionaires living on top of each other. So.
Literally, man, like it's so crazy. Like. I mean, I kind of like feel bad for like all like the parents that have like multiple kids living in like 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, and kind of it's already hard enough living in there, let alone being stuck indoors with all these kids for like over a month now. Like,
yeah, because before you could cope, right? Like Central Park, Hudson River Park. New York City has some of the best parks in the world, man, in the world, and we've been around the block. So
you can't get bored in New York. There's always something to do. There's always somewhere to go. And if you can't think of something, just go outside. You'll find some entertainment in the subway or in the street, whatever. But you can't find any of that right now. You know what I mean? And I've actually like was looking online and stuff that there's like a big rise in domestic violence with what's going on right now.
Yeah, you know why? Come on, be real. I mean, anyone that spends a large amount of time with someone that they supposedly love, you drive each other fucking nuts, dude. Yeah. What?
Crime is actually going up. Last night at 2:30 a.m. for the very first time living in this apartment. I've been living here for 4 or 5 years, and I've lived on 119 for another 5. So I've been living in the Upper East for like almost 10 years now. For the very first time, last night at 2:30 in the morning, I heard gunshots. Nice, clear 3 gunshots. Pa, pa, pa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think if people can't work, they can't make money. And if they can't make money,
no, they can't.
There's this level of, first of all, it messes with you mentally and psychologically. So just being on the edge, you know what I mean?
Exactly. People are on the edge and they're losing their mind. I mean, this guy, there was a story on Friday in the news. This guy actually on my block, he lives on 112. He was coming to his girlfriend's who lives in my building. She has a son. He was bringing her, not with him, with another guy. He was bringing her toilet paper and paper towels, and the baby daddy came from behind and shot him.
That's crazy.
Right, yeah. And then this is where it gets even more crazy. Like the cops caught him like literally like less than 5 minutes later because they were around the block. So obviously they heard the shots and they were able to apprehend him. The next day, back up on 112 where the guy used to live, his friends and family were like doing like a street memorial, like, you know, like when you put the picture down and put all the candles around it.
Yep.
The baby daddy's friends came by and shot up the memorial and killed 2 people and injured 1.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Like do you know how crazy you have to be to shoot up a funeral? Like you basically shot up a funeral. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. It's crazy. You remember what Chris Rock said? Like whatever happened to crazy? This is it.
Yeah.
This is literally what this is.
Not misunderstood. Not misunderstood as a child. Not who they. Not what video games they're playing.
No. Forget that. There's no excuses. There's no misunderstood. This is crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whatever
it's
happened
one
to just
thing,
crazy.
You're literally shooting up a memorial. You're shooting up people that have absolutely nothing to do with what happened the day before. People that are just there to show the respect, and you win and you kill two of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's like another level of crazy. That's just
It's senseless. It's senseless.
Yeah, it's senseless.
I mean, listen, we were just talking about 9/11, right?
Yeah.
If this is some stupid Muslim attack against Americans, right? Like, you know how some racist idiots call it like this Muslim attack against our way of life and this and that. What percentage of people that worked in the World Trade Center do they think, or do you think, or do we think we're Muslim? A lot of them. How many of them were Jewish? A lot of them. How many don't even believe in any God at all? So I really lost a lot of friends who were stupid enough to say, oh, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. Yeah. You know, I mean, those are just stupid things to say. And we were just talking about comedy and what's funny and what's acceptable about delivery versus deliver. That's just stupid. Yeah. I mean, someone like that is not on my team. All right. Yeah. And the same thing, anyone that shoots up a memorial, I mean, obvious is obvious. They're not on our team either, but whatever happened to just crazy. Some people are just crazy, yo. You know?
Yeah, you keep giving people this one have this. No, some people are just crazy, and I'm convinced that like one day, and this Corona thing was probably. I mean, there's rumors that it was man-made. They say, oh, it was from a bat. But Chinese people have been eating bats for thousands of years. Now all of a sudden they come on now. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden it's bad for them. Bullshit. So they're saying that I heard that it's man-made, but I think the end of the world is literally going to be the result of some crazy motherfucker waking up one day and just doing something crazy. You know what I mean? Mental health is a thing, man. You know, it's not. It's the one thing that doesn't really have a cure, if you think about it. Like, if you're crazy, you could pop all the meds that you want. You're still crazy. You know what I mean? My grandpa passed away to dementia 3 years ago, and mind you, like, dementia is like one of the worst things you can have, because especially like a guy like him.
My father just passed away. My father too. Just lost my father last week.
Very opinionated, very, very, very opinionated. Very like if he thinks the sky is purple, you are not gonna fucking change his mind.
Nope.
I mean, like, combine that with having dementia and not able to speak English, and he was like living in a hospice. Like, the man really, really struggled the last 2 years of his life, and me and my mom struggled with him because we obviously had to go see him and take care of him and all this stuff. But it was fascinating, but not in a good way, to see how mental health can really, really, really like fuck up your life.
Yeah, listen, my father just lost my father. The end of February, I was supposed to come to New York.
Yeah.
In March. Same thing. My father suffered from dementia, and you know, big up to my kid sister who did all of the heavy lifting, because as you know, I'm not on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And yeah, crazy is a real thing, and that's why I think every time somebody commits suicide or jumps off of something, oh, we should have bars, you know? Or every time someone shoots someone, oh, we should, get rid of all the guns. Or every time someone's homeless, it's like, we don't want them on the Upper West Side, this and that. And I actually think Hermosa Beach brings them. I think the cops literally pick them up and drop them off at Venice Beach. And every time I bring up mental health, everybody gets so offended, because they're such prisoners of the moment on these separate instances that they don't see the common denominator.
Yeah.
Stop spending our fucking money on all these other things, and start spending some money on treating some of these people that we all acknowledge that are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, do you know why I'm a big Second Amendment guy? I'm a big Second Amendment guy because I don't want to be the victim of a justice system that's only designed to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
All right, Abdel, someone has a gun. They coming after you. You know they're coming after you. You call the cops. You know what the cops tell you?
Yeah.
Can't do anything till you get shot. All right? No, I'm sorry, but has a crime been committed? We can't arrest someone for what they're supposedly going to do. And I'm like, yes, first of all, yes, you can. It's called conspiracy to commit murder. And second, give me a fucking gun.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I want you to live. You're my dude, okay? I don't want someone to come to me. I don't want your relative to say, hey, I got good news and bad news. The good news is they caught the guy that killed Abdel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's the bad news? Well, your boy's dead. He had to get shot first for them to do something about it. So for me, I think is if they have some kind of prevention system, and if that includes getting rid of automatic weapons where someone can't just spray up a movie theater en masse. That's cool. You know, and the weird thing is, not only to get political here, but the weird thing is, Abdel, nobody is saying take away everybody's gun.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that. They have this Democrats and Republicans type thing going on, like, oh, Democrats are coming after all your guns. I'm like, no. You had a Democrat in office for 8 years. And you still have all your guns. No one came after your guns. You still have them. Right now, there are more guns than people. You still have no one's come and taken them away.
Yeah.
Mental health. How about have a system where, Abdel, you have a driver's license, right? What do you got to do? In New York, it's even more fucking stringent. New York, you have to pass a written test. They make you put one hand over your left eye to read a bunch of letters, right? And then you got to put your hand over your right eye. Now your right eye is blurry as fuck, right? So now you can read the letters, but barely. All right?
Yeah.
Got to take an 8-hour driving course. Got to go to driving school. Got to take a road test. And God knows who your proctor is. They could fail you or not, right? And all of this for the right to drive a car, which everybody argues, oh, guns are your right, driving's a privilege. And I'm not going to succumb to that argument. All I'm trying to say is people make you go through that because they want everybody to be safe in their operation of such product. And that's why I don't have it's your right versus it's a privilege comparison. I don't fall into that. One, because it's not logically connected as far as your safety is concerned. And two, just because something's your right doesn't make it a good fucking idea, right?
Exactly.
It's your right to free speech, but can you curse out your boss? See how? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So shit. I know. Wow. Now I'm done.
I wanna kind of like want to cheer things back up. But if we really want a solution to gun control, I think we should just listen to what Chris Rock said.
Bullet control.
He's like, we need bullet control. He's like, we need every bullet to cost $5,000.
That's right. You know why? Because if every bullet, if you had to pay $5,000 for every bullet you bought, there'll be no accidental shootings.
Exactly.
It's like, Abdel, I should blow your freaking head off, but
no,
I can't afford it.
I gotta pay rent. I would shoot you
Citing
in the head.
Chris Rock, that's our source.
Grocery shopping first.
Yes,
crazy.
Bullet control was a joke, but would it work? Would bullet control work?
I think it would. Yeah. No, here's the thing. I'm not an expert in this field. It's not something that I'm, I've never actually shot a gun in my life. I know you served in the military, so I'm sure you probably have.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't even know
what
what it feels like to shoot a gun. So I don't really know. But what I do know, I don't believe in problems. I believe in solutions.
Yes.
And I do know for a fact that if we wanted to find a solution to this, we will find a solution to this. But the problem is, we're never going to be able to find a solution to this because the gun industry is a big industry that generates lots of money. Yeah. And anything that makes a lot of money is always hard to what do you call it? Yeah. It's very hard to moderate or to control. Agreed. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I actually just read earlier today? That WWE, like wrestling, they're still doing shows, but they're just like they're doing it without the fans. Like dark matches. No. They're doing it at the Performance Center. They're airing it live on USA as like Raw. It's still going on. It's just that they're doing it with essential staff only,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though like the performance center is located in Florida, and in Florida, like the whole state is on lockdown, but the governor of Florida, listen to this, has deemed WWE as essential.
Good. Listen. We don't know how long this virus. We don't know how long we have to stay inside. But after a while, when a whole bunch of people start testing negative, and you have a sports entertainment, which is a combat sport equivalent, where you have a small number of people engaging on whatever, right? No crowd. You have a ref. You have two wrestlers, and that's why I thought the UFC would work. The UFC, actually, the one in Brazil looked like the Ultimate Fighter. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's not the same without fans," and I'm like, "That's not true." The Ultimate Fighter, that reality show, is what got the UFC basically more than 50% of its viewers. And did they have an audience? No, they did not. They didn't have an audience. So it's one of those things where I'm just hoping that sport comes back and they do it in the safe way that the UFC was trying to do it, and the way the WWE Vince McMahon was doing it. And I mean, I know these athletes are elite. Like, you were an elite athlete for a while. You know how easily we combat just like the flu and viruses and stuff like that. So it's not about these guys combating it or recovering faster than it is, as much as they would not know that they're infected and bring it home to maybe their grandmother, who may not be able to handle that, right? Like, I don't know if you heard Max Holloway say that.
I think that's why the virus spread so much, is that what we didn't realize was that you could still get it, not show any symptoms, and infect someone else who might not take it as well as you do. Like, that was the biggest mistake that we all made as human beings, was the fact, like, those couple of days when, like, it just started and everyone just kind of like self-quarantined right away. I don't think it would be as bad as it is right now. You know what I mean? But that was the issue, especially in a city like New York. Like, you know how New York is. New York, if there is one way you could describe New Yorkers, is that we just don't give a fuck. We don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody's impressed. We don't care. Why? Because there's the mentality that we have. People just don't give a shit here. You know what I mean? And that's why we're the epicenter of this thing, and that's why we have more cases and more deaths and everything, because people just don't care.
Even if they did, it's the inevitable. There's just too many people in a consolidated area.
I can count probably on both hands the number of times I've left my house in the past month and a half. Like, I've been without work for almost 6 weeks now. You know what I mean? But I'm also like I'm 34 years old. I'm pretty healthy. You know what I mean? Maybe I did get it. You know, did I show any symptoms? Have I felt sick at any point in the past 6 weeks? No, but it doesn't mean that I didn't get it. Maybe I had it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And felt the effects very little.
And I could still like infect other people just because I have it, and
right?
Because I'm not showing like this. It's a virus that affects your immune system, and because it affects your immune system. You can't like gauge it, because the immune system is the one thing that changes is one of the things that changes from one person to the other. You know what I mean? Like I like, knock on wood, I never get sick. I get sick maybe like once a year, like when like if there's like a hard change in the season, and I kind of like usually when it gets like goes from like fall to winter, if I don't like watch myself and make sure I'm bundled up, whatever. You know how New York gets. Like, New York will be 70 one day and then 40 the next day, like, or easy. So that's when I usually get sick. And I'll probably be down for the count for like 3-4 days. Luckily for me, it never really falls on weekends when I have to work. But I never really get sick. But
me neither. Me neither. Dude, we were roommates for a couple of years. Neither one of us got sick.
Yeah.
And you know what the crazy thing is? With the lack of sleep we got, you would have thought we'd be the first two to go. I mean, we don't. I don't even remember the last time I slept more than 6 hours. I'm a night owl. I'm up doing video room breakdown for volleyball coaches, certain programs on the East Coast, high school and college. I'm doing video room breakdown for color commentary. I coach some players. I coach a club for beach. I coach a club for indoor boys. So as you know, to be good at your job, just like you are as a DJ, your job doesn't finish when you leave the club. Your job starts and finishes in whatever area in your apartment you have the lab. I call it the lab, or the man cave, or the command center, if you will. Right now I'm in the command center. This is where I do. This is where I do all of my work. This is where my battles are won and lost. So, yep. So listen, how'd you get into DJing? What made you want to be a DJ? I think at the time, were you doing promoting?
So I used to be a club promoter, and I used to throw these pregame parties in my house. And this was like after I moved out from being roommates with you. When I lived in Long Island City, I used to do these pregame parties at my house, and the rules was very simple. I supplied the space and the music, and people, whoever came, they just had to like bring booze with them, like bring BYOB, bring whatever you want to drink. And what I used to do is basically make a playlist on iTunes, and I would just like let it play as we pregame before we go to the club. Now the pregames were like incentives to get people to come out so I can make money as a promoter. Now what happened was, we would listen to like a lot of house music, and if you're familiar with house music tracks, a lot of them have like a 30-second to 1 minute intro in the beginning, which is used for like DJs to kind of like mix in the songs.
Yeah.
And what happened when we used to do these pre-games, we didn't like the fact that like we have to like listen to the intro of every song. So I like downloaded this program called Virtual DJ that basically allowed me to kind of like mix the songs. So next thing you know, I just kind of found myself DJing the pregame parties, and they started growing. And basically what happened was my friends just didn't like some of the music at some of the clubs that I promoted. Like they came out to support whatever and to have fun, but they started enjoying the music more at the pregame than at the house. So they pushed me. They were like, yo, you should DJ, you should DJ, you should DJ. And I've always liked music. I've always been passionate about being music. I've always incorporated music into my in my Taekwondo training. And I always had like the latest music. I've always had, I was very good with like Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa and all those programs that used to give people viruses. I always know how to use them without infecting my computer and whatnot. But I just remember the first day that I actually played a club. It was Sunday, Memorial Day, 2010. And that rush that I got as a DJ was just...
Where was this again?
It was at this club called Griffin in the Meatpacking District.
Oh,
and
okay.
I remember that rush that I got as a DJ. And mind you, I just played like the last hour before the club closed from 3 to 4. It was amazing. It was like nothing that I ever felt before. And I was just like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I've always liked the concept of performing. You know what I mean? I've always looked at my volleyball games as a performance. If you remember, even when we used to play volleyball games, I used to get people to come up to the games. When I used to promote clubs, I would get people to come. When I DJ, I get people to come see me DJ. You know what I mean? I have this notion of always drawing people to come out and support and spend money and do this and that. But with me DJing now it's gotten to the point where I can just like walk into a room and just read it. I will just look at a room, look at the crowd, look at how they're reacting to whoever is playing right now, like before me or whatever, and I'll be able to tell like
was your break at Griffin though? Like your break?
Huh?
Was your break at Griffin?
No, not at all. Not at all. My break, I would say,
Was it Hudson?
Say my break was definitely when I got the residency at LAVO. Because when I got the residency at LAVO, because LAVO is considered the one of the top nightclubs in New York City, LAVO and MARQUEE, because they're owned by the same company, Tao Group. So playing at LAVO also opened the door for MARQUEE. And then once I established myself, was all in the matters of like 3-4 months in 2015. almost 5 years ago. And as soon as they got the residencies at LAVO and MARQUEE, like the doors just like started opening up for all the other clubs, because then it gives you credibility. You know what I mean? That opened the doors for the residency in Atlantic City, and Atlantic City opened the doors for Philadelphia, Philly. It's actually one of my favorite places to play right now, because people over there really love their hip hop. And then, of course, you start getting like offers, because all these big clubs, they get a lot of like rich clientele. And then a lot of the rich clientele, they want to like do private parties. They hear you at these clubs. And next thing you know, they want to hire you for private gigs. And that's where the money is. As a coach, when you coach a team, you make a certain amount of money. But if you were to like give private lessons to a player, that obviously costs more money than it costs for,
it's a business out here.
So yeah, it's business. It's simple business.
It's a big business out here.
I try to keep a foot in both markets. I keep a foot now in the club market, and then I keep a foot. I do a lot of private events. I'm very particular about the weddings that I do, because I don't want to be labeled as a wedding DJ. Most of the weddings that I do are weddings for people that are music oriented, that want like a club DJ at their wedding, and not necessarily a wedding DJ that's going to play the electric slide and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So most of the weddings that I've done have been for like people that are like people who really, 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 really care about music and really want to have that like club vibe for after the ceremony. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I like it. You could turn a wedding into a bachelor party really quick.
Oh, for sure. I've had a lot of weddings go overtime, like kind of get extensions, because people are having just too much fun and they don't want to,
So Abdel, was there a story where you were like opening up for a particular DJ, and then the resident didn't show or something like that, and you had to do the whole night?
No, so I'm the resident at the club.
No, I'm not talking about LAVO. I'm talking about before.
There's been a lot of situations where like we'll have like cancellations with the headliner, and maybe in the resident that plays before and after, I would have to like take over the show. This happened many times, and a lot of these DJs, like, they travel the world, so it's like a lot of the times they have like travel problems, or like they can't get them coming to the country, or they get delayed. So like cancellations happen all the time, but I've had to step in like numerous times to kind of like save the day, which is always, a good feeling, because it shows that the club really trusts you to carry the night.
Yeah. Well, shit.
A night like that, can go both ways.
Yeah, because they're taking a chance anyway, right? They got nobody.
If a DJ cancels, you have to like issue refunds to people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Very well said. Very well said. And it was really cool, because I think I didn't get to witness all of it firsthand, but I did see how you came from like club promoter to like opening up for this person, opening up for that person, and then suddenly, boom, you found a place you could pitch your own tent. LAVO is awesome. LAVO is awesome. LAVO has really good Italian food. The restaurant upstairs, the Italian food is off the page. And as a New Yorker saying that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it is. Very good Italian. Very good Italian. Very, very good Italian. It's definitely one of my favorite places to eat. It's so funny. I just went on Facebook right now really quick, and a picture of us from LAVO just popped up from June 4th.
Yeah, I was there for the AVP.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, man. Shit, I wonder if I could find that.
I can send you a link later if you want.
Yeah, I got right now, because I'm teching the show by myself. I only got your picture up, but if,
okay.
Like my girl Miranda, who's my tech, half the time, like live, we just pull it up. up.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about mixed martial arts or like professional wrestling. Like I remember there was George Masvidal. Remember that guy from Leon Edwards was George Masvidal was doing an interview, and Leon Edwards kept walking by and like talking nonsense, and he left the interview and pieced him up, and that was a really cool. That was like a viral video. That's where the 3-piece in the soda came from. He used the New York reference. I gave him a 3-piece in the soda.
Yeah.
He said pop, 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 and I was like, wow. So here's the cool thing I liked about you as a DJ and just hanging out with you. As you know, I'm a pubs over clubs guy, right? But the weird thing is when I actually get into the club and the music starts, what does it look like? Does it look like I'm a pubs over clubs guy? No, it looks like there's no place on earth I'd rather be. And they're like, "Yo,
exactly.
Isn't that your friend that doesn't like clubs? That's the guy that doesn't like clubs, right?"
No, but here's the thing: you don't like clubs because you don't like the hassle that comes with clubs, which I understand 100%. A lot of people don't like clubs because clubs can be a hassle to get into. You know what I mean? Especially if like. You know, it's not it's not for everyone. But you always were into music. You've always loved music, and it's you like to dance. So eventually, obviously, if the music is good, it doesn't matter where you are. You're gonna bust out your Jason moves. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Listen, nobody does enthusiastic white guy on the dance floor better than me, except for maybe Chris Ships, who may be listening to this. Yeah, right? Chris Ships could do wild white boy, man. It's the most fun thing in the world to watch. Because they don't have a care in the world, and like you said, they all kinds of I don't give a fuck as New Yorkers as a general rule, but like someone dancing in the club as a precaution, you just out there having a good time. I do remember.
Wow.
I remember. I think it was your 20th birthday. We were in a club Midtown, right? And I was dancing with. It was a bunch of volleyball people. Trisha Morris was there. Remember the Aussie girl? Remember the big girl, the Aussie girl with the big legs? Good player, Trisha.
Oh, the one that Ida used to date.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Trisha. Yeah. So I was dancing with her one night, and I'm just out there having fun, and I could see in the corner of my eye there's like 3 dudes, right?
Yeah.
And I see them talking about me, and I'm like, all right, whatever. They're just whatever. They're just talking, and that's okay. So one guy backs up. And he bumps into me, right? And I just say, oh, excuse me, whatever. And then he does it again. And the second time, I know it's not an accident. He just bumps into me. And he's like, what's your problem? He's about to start shit, right? So then he's got his 2 friends behind him. And you know what? I come up to him really close. And this is my problem, Abdel. I have 2 problems. One, I wimp out of stuff where if people follow me and they corner me, I'm in their grill and I put them in a position where they have to fight, right? Yeah. They were just hoping they could punk me out, look good in front of their friends or whatever. So that's one of my problems. I kind of try to steer away from it, and sometimes they follow me into a corner, and now I'm like literally nose to nose, and now you have to do something. Now you can't back up. That's my first problem. My second problem is my response is always disproportionate to what someone does to me, right? Like if someone puts their hand and like smacks me on the face like lightly, like they're being playful, and I smack them with my left hand like with the palm, that's disproportionate, and that's my problem. Yeah. But so basically, I'm like, hey, it's all good, man. He's like, I'm like, cool, man. This and that. So I'm like, listen, I said, you got this club full of good-looking women, good music, and why are you doing this? And I have my hand up. I'm like, I have both hands up. And he's like, put your hands down, and I was like. I said, I don't fucking put my hands down. Now all of a sudden he's there, and now all of a sudden his 2 friends are there. So Steve comes over. Steve Rouse is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Steve trying to smooth shit out, right? And Kenny's like, look, I know what Kenny's there too, right? And Kenny's like, look, I know, you got your friends over here, and you got and you trying to put on a front, but just walk away. Just walk away before you get your fucking feelings hurt. And then you come over, and there was only like 5 inches of space between me and this guy. You filled the 5 inches. You went right between us, and you said, "You ain't crazy. I'm the motherfucker who's crazy." You said you ain't crazy. If I'm the one who's crazy. And it was crazy because we were just in the middle of de-escalating the situation. And then when you came in, you just fucking alphaed it. And you really put someone in a position where they had to put up or shut up. But I only brought that up because I never saw a situation where people thought they saw pussy, right? They thought they saw prey. And then when they didn't, they were like, okay, he's not prey, but there's 3 of us and there's 1 of him. And then all of a sudden people, because it was your birthday that day, all right? And I forget the place. But so now all of your friends are coming out of the dark. And we're all volleyball players. Kenny's 6'5", Steve is 6'4", right? This dude's 6'8". This dude's 6'6". So now all of these big motherfuckers start coming out of the dark. Just out of the dark and into the light in the middle of the dance floor. And now they're all standing next to me and all standing behind me, which I'm eternally grateful for. I'm just glad. Like, I don't need anyone to fight my battles, but I think in order for it to happen peacefully, where it wasn't taken to the next level, that's how it had to happen. So I was very, and it's such a stupid memory to have, but it's a great memory because I knew that we weren't just friends on the court. We were tight like that. And you put me in a situation where I didn't have to be one way. If I had to handle it by myself, Abdel, I'm the bad guy. If I have to handle that by myself, I'm the bad guy. I'm going to smack him in his mouth. Or if he's the biggest guy, or if his friend's bigger than him, I'm going to just reach past him and punch his friend. And then it's on. And now the only person that's going to get thrown out of the club is me.
Yep.
So, and I didn't do shit wrong. I'm just minding my business. I'm dancing with this fucking fine Amazon, this 6'1.5" chick from Australia, legs of Spank Jehovah. But I don't know what year. I think this is your 20th birthday, and it was a place in Midtown, next close to Tao.
Let me fill in that gap for you,
please.
It was my 20th birthday, and it was a club called O-Bar, Club 58.
Okay.
And Club 58 went on to become, after they closed, they reopened at this place called The Grand, which I promoted at when I was a promoter.
Yeah.
And then they closed, and guess what they reopened at?
What?
LAVO. How crazy is that?
Oh, come on.
I basically had my 20th and my 30th birthday at the same venue, except that they were obviously different names.
Just for the people listening, am I to understand that the same place where you celebrated your 20th birthday, the same place where I'm expressing a meeting of the minds and the togetherness and the emotional investment us as volleyball players and volleyball friends had, is the same place you are now the resident DJ?
Yep. Same exact place.
Well, shit. Glad I brought up the story, Abdel.
It is a crazy little story for you. I broke up. I got into the guy's face. I remember it very clearly. But back in 2015, I used to hang out. This was right before I started playing at LAVO. I used to go to LAVO to hang out for like almost a year every Thursday to like make friends with everyone. And I remember probably it was like April or May, like maybe like a month or 2 before I got my residency. At this point, like I'm friends with everyone, all the security and like the staff, they all know me. And I remember I was out with my friend Dana, beautiful blonde. And there was this guy that was like harassing her. Same situation as you. So at one point, she literally comes and hides behind me. And then the guy is like literally trying to like go around me to get to her. And I just like looked at it and I'm like, dude, like you obviously can tell she doesn't want to talk to you. And he was like, what's it to you? I'm like, nothing. I personally don't give a shit. Like if she could talk to you, she could go home with you. I really don't care. But if she's hiding behind me, she obviously doesn't want to talk to you. So you should probably like leave her alone. And I made the mistake of saying you should probably leave her alone and like turn my head away to like look over to the side to like avoid, because mind you, like I'm at this place where I'm trying to like get work. I'm not trying to like, cause any problems. So the guy sucker punches me in the face right in front of everyone. And everyone just like turned and looked at me. And in that split second, I was, all these like emotions and ideas were like throwing over my head. I'm like, listen, I could turn right now and I could knock him the fuck out.
You know what I mean? I could rearrange his space. I could literally make him count his teeth if I wanted to. But I really want to DJ in this place. And I'm not going to be able to do that if I start a problem right now. So I literally, like, swallowed my ego and swallowed my pride. Something I wouldn't have been able to do when I was 20
if you were
years
19
old.
or 20. Oh, no way.
Yeah. And
no way, dude.
And you know
dude,
that.
I've seen you throw kicks, dude.
Yeah.
That whole kick the bottle off the top of my head scares me to death, but you are deadly accurate. You know? And that wasn't just a push kick. That was a jump in the air, spinning
a spinning hook kick.
What the fuck, dude? So I literally
just like went outside. I went outside to grab the security. And by the time I made it to the head security, Rich, at the door, he literally just looked at me. He was like, I already know what happened. Don't worry. We already handled it. Because apparently when he threw the punch, one of the bouncers from like a few feet away saw him and came and grabbed him and like kicked him out.
Okay.
So it's just fascinating to see how everything comes back full circle. You know, the same place where I had my 20th birthday. And believe it or not, that birthday gig is actually what led to me becoming a promoter, because I remember I brought maybe 30, 35 people that night. It was a Thursday. And the promoter that we had gone with, he literally was like, wow, you have like a lot of people and you should be a promoter. I'm like, I don't want to be a promoter, man. Just get me inside right now. I don't really want to deal with it. But the same place that had my 20th birthday and had like my first quote unquote gathering of people is the same place where I went on to become a resident DJ. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And like you said, a testament as far as all of this coming full circle is concerned is just, ooh, wow. You know, so we first met playing volleyball. Were you still a student at New Utrecht at the time? Were you a senior or you just finished?
I met you after my quarterfinals game. I had just lost. We had just lost. New Utrecht, we had just lost to JFK. We lost to Zaka and Zacharias. They beat our ass.
Good team, right? That was a good team, right?
I was sitting in the corner crying.
Was Roberto a senior on that team too? Or
it was Roberto. I think it was Roberto. They had like a squad. Roberto. There was Zaka. They had a squad.
Good coach too. Big up to Iris. Iris from the Bronx. Everybody in New York, the New York scene knows her. Good coach.
Yes, I love Iris. Iris is one of my favorite people.
I remember that team.
I was off to the side, like literally crying when you came and like you were like, "No, bro, you did good. You did a good job. You know, you should be proud of yourself." And I mean, I was 17 at the time.
Yeah, who the fuck is trying to hear that?
This was exactly 17 years ago. How crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah. So here's how I think our club team started, which was evolution. And refresh my memory. It's Friday night, LaGuardia High School, right?
Mm-hmm.
For people that don't know, LaGuardia High School back in the day, I don't know what they're doing now, was pickup volleyball. They had a gym for advanced players and intermediate, and they had a gym for beginners. And LaGuardia was a mixture of people who were really, really good and a mixture of people who were suffering from delusions of grandeur, who think they're good and they're not, and people who know they're not good but bring their fucking scrub ass there anyway. All right, so there are people like you suck. You know you suck. Yes, you do. Say it with me. You suck. And there's some people who actually think they're good. And then there was this group of queens that were just magnificent skill Nazis. So you came through, and I'm with Eugene, one of my closest friends. We call Flaco. Flaco played for Balmeso, 2-time national champ for men's open for USAV. They only lost a set in 2 years, so that's how good they were. That team was. So you come up, and that was 2005, but in fact, when they won, and you come up and you're like, yo, we should do a fucking team for Urban. And I look at Eugene and I'm like, who's this? What are you like a buck fucking buck 40? What do you weigh? You know? And I said, all right. Eugene was like, all right, let's make a team. He says, you pick 2 people. Who would you bring in with you? Go. So he's like, you said Wojtek, and we were like, ooh.
An eater.
That little motherfucker from Grover Cleveland High School. That dude that just jumps 50 and talk about skill Nazi. His serve receive is immaculate. His jump serve was balls out. And
he was 5'5" with the mohawk.
And you said eater Who, by the way, at that time was, I thought, the leader of that generation of players. Everyone just loved Eater because he wasn't arrogant. There were so many people that were so arrogant and they brought so little to the table. And Eater was so humble and he brought so much to the table. So you said Wojtek and Eater, and me and Eugene just go, interesting. And then you came back at us and he's like, well, who would you bring? I'm the one bringing 3 good people. Who are you bringing? And I'm like, And I went, Eugene. I pointed at Eugene. And then there was this guy we found out was from Minnesota. His name is Mitch Jackson. He hits a front one. We didn't
even know him at the time.
No, I didn't. I just met him that night. So I said, Eugene. And then we were watching him warm up. And he hit a 1 ball that looked like it was a 2 still on its way up. Just jack. And I said, that guy. that's my third guy. That guy right there. So for one season, we made a team, 6 people. No libero, no subs.
No subs.
In fact, when we only had 5 people, when people couldn't make the game, everybody's like, "Yo, Eater's out. Do you need a sub? Do you need someone to play?" We're like, "No, we're good." They're like, "Dude, you're gonna play 5 against 6?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna play 5. Yeah, we're gonna play 5 against 6." So it was one of these teams where we had no libero because our middles were really good. You played middle. Mitch Jackson had played middle. Both of you guys were actually ranked 3 and 4 on our serve receive totem pole, right? You got Eater and Wojtek who are 1 and 2, but we ran a two passer system with in case someone had like a really hard jump serve, we do a 3rd person drop. But Wojtek covered almost the whole court on ball control. Eater was the guy just jumps and he just keeps going and he keeps going. And the taller the guy was and the higher the blocker got up, the more Eater felt like he had to, in order to hit cross court around me, he felt like he had to jump high enough to hit over them.
Yeah.
So a good team, finished 26-4. I remember how that ended. We lost Wojtek to Junior Olympics.
Yeah.
Right. And then we recruited and for the volleyball fans, they know this name because he's very popular all around. Seydou. We recruited Seydou Anjanako. One of the best players in the history of Ghana volleyball. Currently was playing FIVB representing his country. I'm in the West Coast right now, so for the California people like John Mayer from Pepperdine, Sean Rooney, all you guys remember Cal Baptist had an NAIA team, three-time NAIA champion. Seydou and his cousin Shamzu are on that team, so the West Coast knows who Seydou is too, or as we would say, say don't, because Seydou has a little bit of a man child in him. So I remember that game, Abdel, because we won our semis rather easily against a team that brought in ringers for the playoffs. So when they brought in ringers, this guy brought Greg Romulus. This dude brought Dominic Tessette. This guy brought Marco or Selena right now to play libero. They brought like three ringers, and we only brought 1. We brought Seydou, and they couldn't protest because if they protest, the 3 guys they brought in couldn't play either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Honestly, they were better off. They had a better chance just bringing in nobody and then protesting. We won that game pretty easily. And then in the finals, Seydou caught a little child fit. Didn't like a call.
I remember that.
He didn't like a call from the ref, who was Justin Stack, by the way, longtime coach. Wow, Trisha Morris is watching. We were just talking about Trish. Isn't that cool? But Seydou sat down and refused to get it off the bench. And I called the timeout. We come back in. Yeah. He's still not leaving the bench. I call a second timeout. So now I use 2 timeouts. And we're down 20-12. Game 3's up to 25. And I'm like, Seydou, are you in or are you out? And he's like, I'm out. So I told the ref, I said, we got an injured player. We're just going to go 5. Which, by the way, in retrospect, if we just went 5 from the beginning, you know what I'm saying? Like our chemistry and us feeling each other out. By the time we got to the finals, we probably would have won the whole thing. If we just played with 5 without Seydou, who many would consider the most talented player out of the 6 of us. Sometimes it's not the most talented player. It's just about talented chemistry. We could have won that without Seydou. And I think Seydou, him playing a man-child, it's one set apiece, right? Yeah. And now we're down 20-11 because he doesn't like a set, he doesn't like this, and he doesn't like the call. So when he sits, the thing I remember is we came back from 20-12, and led 23-22. So we ended up outscoring them 11-2. And then Trang, was it Trang or Trung? Chinese guy, played for UCLA. He set.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah, he switched out. He was setting and he switched out. He's like, dude, I got it. They call the timeout. He's like, let me just set me a couple of 4 balls outside. I got a beat on how Eugene's blocking and how Jason's blocking, and he got the last 3 kills and they won 25-23. But the point of the story was you very rarely remember a game in a losing effort. When you want to tell someone a story about how fun a game is, and someone asks you, "Did you win?" and you say no, they don't want to fucking hear the rest of the story. But there are these one instances, and they happen every now and then, that there's a story that people in the gym or people saw the videotape that they remembered this magnificent performance in a losing effort. And I just thought it brought us closer together. Seydu sitting out like that made us friends for life.
For sure.
Right? We eventually recruited.
I mean, that was definitely one. And I remember this game was at it was a beer league.
Yep.
It was a very tiny gym.
Yep.
And I remember I invited so many people to come out, and I think there were almost 200 people that day surrounding the court.
And who wanted us to win? None of them, except for Kenny and the people you brought in, like Susan.
Yeah.
Susan, Kenny, all the people we brought in, but. I remember no one wanted us to win because the team that made the finals lost 5 players to the other 2 teams in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Raul stayed. Ren left to play with the Long Island guys, to play with Birdie. Selena or Marco left to play with this team. So they lost 5 players to the 2 teams that us and them had to beat. They beat the Long Island team. They ended up beating Ren. We ended up beating Marco. And then when the finals came, all of the teams that left that team stayed and cheered for them. And was just killing the ref. They were just killing the ref. As far as that's hands. Oh, that's a net. No, it's not on him. So it was one of those things where I was like, wow. Isn't this the same team you abandoned?
Yeah.
Dude, this is you'd rather see Trump win than Bernie become the nomination. It was that for everyone on a political equivalent, that's what it was like. They would rather see their enemies win than us. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what the fuck did we ever do to anybody? So, a very good memory. You ended up making a really good club team, a lot of professional players. Daniel Levant was on that team. Eric was a good middle and oppo. You ended up becoming a pretty good outside hitter. Villy, good setter. Remember him? Played 1 year at Hunter.
Yeah.
Yep. So, man, that was a fun memory. But that's how I met you. That's how I met DJ Stoon. I met DJ Stoon the same way I meet everybody else, and the same way I become longtime friends and lifelong friends with almost every friend I have to this day, and that was through volleyball. I have a lot of friends, Abdel, so do you. But it always comes down to 3 people. It always comes down to 3 people, and it was Kenny, it was Eater, and it was you. All right. Right now, West Coast, I got my 3 people: Greg Faulkner, who everyone knows very, very well; Rob McLean, and this guy named Tracy Lugo, and sometimes Torrin Jeffries. But I keep my close friends in 3s, or my close male friends in 3s. So. Oh man! Wow, that was fun.
I can't believe I just looked at the clock. We've been talking for over 2 hours.
Yep.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's what happens when we have a lot to say. Well, maybe we close it out like that. I just wanted to thank you for joining the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is DJ Stoon out of New York. Yes.
Thank you for having, man. This was. I have to say it was a lot of fun. It was a nice little trip down memory lane. And I think we're gonna need a part 2, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe when the world comes back to normal.
Yeah, listen,
they do a part 2. I feel like there's still a lot of topics, a lot of memories. We didn't.
Well, you got to come in studio.
The New Blood.
You got to come in. I know, and listen. But for that one, I'd like you to come in studio. When I did this podcast, I told myself no telephone interviews. Everybody's got to be in studio, and I think that's gonna make it more organic.
You know what?
And you know what? We have someone teching the show. We'll have shitloads of highlights and clips, and I used one of your interview to promote this. Did you see your interview?
I saw it. I don't even know, where did you get that? Did you get that from YouTube?
I got that from YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. This Russian girl did that interview for me. But yeah, I think that's a good idea because believe it or not, I've never been to LA, which is very embarrassing to say. So I think I'm way overdue for a trip once this world, comes back to normal. I'm gonna come out to LA. We could do part 2. I could finally meet Braxton.
Oh, that'd be great, dude.
Maybe you'll convince me to step into the court for a couple of plays. I haven't touched the ball
and play with who? And play with who? I'm retired, dude.
Well, I retired 10 years ago, so shit.
It's true.
Oh,
wow. So listen, for all of you at home, for all of you watching on your iPhones and your iPads on your roofs, for all of you stuck in your apartments in New York and can't leave, for all of you who got this magnificent view of the beach that live in South Bay, for all of you from Russia, I got a good Russia contingency. Thank you all from the UK. Thank you from Australia. Trish Morris joining us from Australia, from Sydney. I love you all. And for DJ Stoon, I am Jason DeBillius. And for now, until the next episode, chill. See ya.
Thank you for having me, man. I'll see you soon.
Bet. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.